change it to Avatar because it's dumb being the.
Well, we're live now. So, hello everyone. It's I, J.Ishiro, author and alien in a human suit, and with me is Tewelde, aka Albertino.
Hi, greetings and salutations to everyone. It is me.
So, I've been wanting to bring Tewelde on for quite a while now, and I'll try and do a short version of this. On the Discord, we were having a chat once, and the topic of my atheism came up, and just the problem there with most of the atheist community, and just how they do not see the need or utterly fail to understand the need to have more than the material world, and that it's often an excuse for nihilism, and that even though I am not a person of faith, I very easily understand why there's the need for faith and the purpose it serves. And I said, look, it's not that hard. And then Tewelde pointed out to me, well, in sort of a way, I did have a spiritual experience. I didn't really think of it as such, but he was right. That granted, my spiritual experience involved little gray men with big eyes and gray skin, it had all the earmarks of religious experience all the same. And I mean, it was even a situation in which I called upon it. I was at the lowest of my low. I was living alone in Berkeley, and I was getting deeper and deeper in the depths of post-traumatic stress, and I was crazy. I was absolutely losing my mind. And on an absolute whim, I realized I knew I had to change. I knew I had to get out of that hole or I never would, and that nothing would change for me. And just out of desperation, I kind of opened myself up and said to the universe, whoever the fuck's listening, I don't care. The universe itself, don't give me what I need. Don't give me what I want. Give me what I need. That was it. And lo and behold, that's when all the bizarre experiences started happening. Now, I won't go down that path unless it's necessitated for the conversation, but I think that's enough backstory. But anyway, I wanted to bring Tewelde on because, one, he was the one to point out it had all the earmarks of a religious experience, but second, he pointed out because I've had those experiences, I could empathize and understand to people of faith. And that he was the only person I've ever met who made an argument about God that appealed to me. So, anyway, hello, Tewelde.
Hey, I don't. Well, this is kind of a what do you call it? Being on the spot type of moment.
Oh, I'm a little surprised.
Yeah. So the reason why I said what I said earlier about that you had a religious experience is because you got involved with basically the unknown psyche of humanity, meaning like you went further along than most atheists would when it comes to thinking about the spiritual realm. You've already basically were touched by death.
Yeah.
And death itself is a signifier of that there is something there beyond. Because if death wasn't that the case, people would not fear death. If death was nothing but part of nature, and when we die, we just gone, poof, nobody would care. But there is aspects that are kind of that scare people because we don't know what's on the other side, as well as is there heaven, is there hell. All these aspects are what makes death so frightening to people. It's not the fact that there's nothing after death. So in your case, hey Eloise, because of how you interacted with it, and you finally said you that's the plea of God, like that's the plea for God that you did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, please help me. And because of that, and the fact that it's an honest approach to the Lord himself, it came to you in what you would accept as the way you would accept as a religious symbology, because people see crosses,
Yeah.
some people see angels, and in your case, you saw gray aliens because that's the closest thing that you actually see. If you think about it, it's the closest thing that is to the unknown
Yeah.
and to something that is not real, but yet it's real. It's like you don't have full proof of it. So it's like in the realm of the mystery. So that's the closest thing that is to you that you would understand.
Well, I will say when the experiences were happening, there are a couple things to point out, and that they were so pale as to almost be white and not gray, but I mean, they were still the typical gray.
Hmm.
They seemed to be slightly luminous,
Hmm.
and they themselves weren't frightening, but I will say that the experience was terrifying for a very long time
Hmm.
until I realized what I was afraid of, and it was that they represented knowledge and understanding and thinking that was beyond me, that I could not comprehend.
Yep.
And that
But
once I knew that and respected it, it no longer became terrifying.
and that's itself is like you see there. That's the thing. If they're luminescent and they're um, angelic in appearance and not of the dark type, or like
Yeah,
the symbologies of darkness or evil or satanic, that
yeah.
means that it's what the light that is talking to you and trying to connect to you, connect grace to you, or connect you to the Lord Himself. I'm not exactly like I wouldn't be called an actual like a real theist because I never went to like church and studied and everything. It's just through experience and through what I've seen in the world. Because again, ironically enough, I was an atheist.
Yeah?
Yeah. I grew up with my basically Catholic family. My aunt was Catholic, and she showed me the way. Because I grew up in a Muslim country, it's kind of it shows you that, oh my God, their faith is so good and wonderful. Look at how good they are and all that. But here's the catch: there's a lot of violence. So you're like, they're trying to force me to go to the church, so I'm going to the mosque. So I'm like automatically saying no. Why do you want to force me? And I didn't have any arguments to explain why my religion is better than theirs, even though because I didn't know as much. But then I started reading just the opening statements of the Bible itself was the beginning where it showed me. Because in the Bible it says, for example, the first thing it would, if I remember correctly, is um, the Lord Himself uttered the word, and the word created the heavens and the earth. These are aspects that we don't usually come to think of when you read it. The heavens and the earth is literally earth is everything on earth, including us and like the world itself and plants and animals and everything. While the heavens is the mystery part, which is the sky and everything that's connected to it. I know it doesn't make any sense. It's just I'm rambling,
No,
but
no, no. Actually, that bit that you mentioned in the beginning there was the word.
yeah,
In a sense, I always kind of saw that as the birth of language, and that prior to language, the universe was terrifying and scary, and that the creatures in the woods were all monsters because we didn't know what they were. And the various things that happened in the world were terrifying because we didn't really have words to describe them. And the moment we had language, we could begin to understand, and suddenly a universe had formed around us, and that we could comprehend and pass knowledge. And that in itself was kind of magical.
yeah, and when you look at it from the historical point of view, yes, you're right. It does make sense because again, if you're looking at it from people who don't speak anything yet, only grunts and basically they're prehistoric man, they don't have any indication of thinking of, let's say, let me rephrase that. They do not see the world the way we see the world because their aspect, like you said, the forest and everything is filled with monsters.
Right.
Everything is shadow, snakes on the ground. But if you look at it from a religious point of view, it's more to do with the fact that it's not just that God created the world and it's like that, but it's more to do that in a sense, we started to understand that things have meaning, and these things have specific words that we can give them to form them, to give them shape, to ground them in reality instead of making them to be monsters or phantoms. Like I remember one. What was it? I was having I was watching a discussion with Dr. Jordan Peterson, and he was talking about uh, problems between couples usually happen because that they don't say what is bothering them. So it becomes this miasma of poison in the relationship, and it grows because nobody points out to what is the main concern. But if you say what it is and you narrow it down, it becomes a small stinger, a small little problem that can be easily fixed by just discussion between the between the couple, and that solves the issue. And it's the same thing when it comes to belief and seeing that the world is the way it is. It's kind
Well,
of like
there,
a oh god,
yeah.
sorry.
I
No,
was
no.
going to say, well, there definitely is something about the human psychology of naming our fears, naming our hopes, and there is a release in naming our sins. I mean, we do get something out of that.
Yeah, we technically we do. A lot of the things, like for example, hatred, revenge, all these
Hmm.
emotions bottled in result in just the death of the person because he or she is slowly poisoning themselves with all this emotion bottled in. And the fact that you can talk and release it is one of the one of the reasons why we actually can forgive one another. And if, like, for example, Ishi, let's say that you had a fight with one of your rodents. Yeah. You can't talk to them. You can try, but you can't talk to them. So it's like it will be in the back of your mind. It's like this. Let's say I don't know. Vegeta is still alive, right? Or
No, he
passed.
just
Passed.
passed, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Uh, Vegeta bit me in the finger, and I can't tell him not to tell him to stop biting me because you won't understand. We don't have that issue when it comes to people because people understand regardless of where they come from. Even if they don't understand the same language, if it's like you point at your finger saying like, "Hey, don't bite me," they
Yeah.
won't bite you. Unless they're trying to show you something, then they will try to pull you or drag you. But um, my point is that sometimes a lot of this what we think is like the physical world is not the physical world itself. It's more of a metaphysical aspect, like the spiritual realm, uh, the aspect of God, the aspect of whether there are angels or not. All these things are are more of a spiritual sense than they are in a physical sense. So we cannot give them physical connotations because we feel them or we sense them. They're not they're not concrete. They're not like physical in the world.
Yeah, the feelings aren't a material thing.
Yeah,
Interaction actions between people, where do they exist? They're not really a material.
exactly.
Relationships aren't a material thing.
Yep, exactly. And that's the thing. People forget that everybody is like, oh, why doesn't the Lord or God or whatever they believe in or they don't believe in, oh, why doesn't He help me or doesn't manifest in the real world? He already did, but that's me. That's my Christian values coming in. But no, in reality, it's not like He can't. It's just that you have to actually believe.
Hmm.
You have to receive the grace. That's mostly what happens. But at the same time, it's you have to accept that there are things that you cannot understand and you cannot answer them with either logic or science. And that's the parts that have, like, a lot of clashing with atheists because they think that there's everything can be answered by science.
I think that's something that a lot of people in this day and age struggle with is that there is a lot we don't know and we can't explain, and we're going to need to accept that there are things that we're not yet able to understand or answer. And that seems to be kind of a weird rebellion going on that somehow, no, there needs to be a way to explain and understand everything. It's like, no, there are things that are just, we're not capable of getting yet.
Yeah. Usually this comes from the fact that they use God as like a God of the gaps. Whenever something's not explained, they always have that argument where they use, there's God there because he's God of the gaps. But in reality, that's not the truth. The truth is, God is already is or the spiritual realm is beyond us. It's not in between the gaps of science. It's more to do with the fact that it's not in the physical world. It's somewhere that does not have you cannot reach unless you either die or it touches you instead. Because in your case, you were touched by that in the dreams. In other
Yeah.
people's case, it's through meditation. In other places, it's through, let's say, the phenomena of haunting and people trying to connect to talk to them, or possession. All these things indicate that there is something that we cannot see or perceive, and there's like a physical barrier between us and that world.
I would even go as far as, I guess, as a writer, one of the things I see it as, this is a concept a lot of people struggle with, but just because something is fiction doesn't mean that it isn't metaphorically true.
Yep,
That it doesn't have to be factually or physically true or real to
yep,
be metaphorically real. And that, in a sense, when we read books and we tell stories, and the realm of fiction itself exists in its own place, and it lives. It's in our mind. It's alive, and it's a shared experience.
yep. And to add to that point, you're actually correct to look at it as it's an experience or something that is like everybody can feel or experience. But there is damn, my thought process is just getting out of my head today. I don't know why.
That's
Uh,
okay.
it's the being meta true is always the case when it comes to these stories, be them religious stories or not. Because if we think about it this way, if we actually did what the meta stories tell you to do, like the Good Samaritan, for example,
Yeah.
or or the forgiveness of a person who has wronged you, or any type of stories, and we actually accept the metaphorical sense of them, which is to try to do good, to forgive others, to help a person in need. All these actually move society to a better place, and they're a foundation of our morals. If you look at it from a more historical reference, which is the be it the Christian moral, moral virtue, or Western ideology in itself.
Well, see, now we're getting into the, again, getting back to why I would say that the Bible, especially the New Testament, is so damn important. And it kind of, again, shows the power of story. And I know that this is somewhat offensive to certain believers, but in my opinion, the Christ story, real or not, is immaterial. The story itself exists, and that is transcended the ages. It's been around for at least 2,000 years. It shaped Western civilization.
Yep.
One story has done this. It gave humanity a set of morals that didn't really exist prior to that. I mean, this idea that Western values are universal, no, they are not.
No,
You
they're
lived in a
not.
Muslim country.
Yeah, exactly.
Life
Uh,
isn't sacred.
oh no, 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 no. Here's the thing: people do not understand that the world is not the way they think it is. It's from what you said. The reason why Western culture developed that way is because of the Jesus Christ's entire story as a
Yeah.
whole affecting it. And I'll tell you even something better. Uh, it did not just affect the West. In Africa, Christianity embedded in Africa first, before the Middle East, actually.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
If you go to the third century, if you check like the Ethiopian Orthodox
Mm-hmm.
Church or the Ethiopian Coptic Church, the first like the Bibles that they have there are, I think, from the third century, as well as if I remember, it's like they were handed down from one of the disciples of Paul directly, and given from father to son basically to this day. And these churches still exist, and they protect a lot of their documents, even from the government. They rebelled against the communist government of Ethiopia and Eritrea at that time, and they still because they were basically, we're people of faith. We don't want to engage in war or in whatever it is that you're engaging in the world, as they would call it. And there are a couple of monasteries that still exist to this day. Uh, One is, I think, let me see if I can find the link for it. Just a second here.
So is that where they say the Ark of the Covenant's in Ethiopia?
Yeah,
Okay. Always wondered about that.
yeah. The funny thing is, there is actually a mountain in Eritrea that is forbidden for women to enter because it's basically a monastery, and and if you go there, it is it's basically for people who cannot interact with society or cannot become part of society. It's not like an asylum or say per se.
Okay.
It's more like people who believe in God so much that they find that the world is corrupt and they do not want to interact with this and try to keep themselves pure, basically. They're
Oh, they're monastics. Okay.
yes, they're really monastics. So let me show you if I can link it here in the chat.
Okay. Let me open that up so I can view it, and I will share that.
Hmm. There's a couple of places too, but it's just I have to remember where they were. Uh, let's see.
Okay, it doesn't seem to be sharing in the chat for some reason.
Hmm.
Um, can you do a share screen?
Oh, okay. Share screen.
Abuna Yamada. Good. I'm probably mispronouncing that.
It's all good, man. It's Ethiopian, so it's kind of old. Can you see this?
Okay, let me share that. Okay, so it's at the northmost point
Yeah.
of Ethiopia.
Yep. It's basically a 35 odd rock huge church, largest concentration anywhere in Ethiopia. This is one of them too, because there's another one that is literally buried in a. It's like in a rocky hill, and it's shaved downwards instead of upwards. So instead of being like on the side of a mountain, it's like you're looking at a hill, and you're looking at it from the top. You can see that there's a cross embedded into the rock. I need to find that one. I can show you that too.
But, I
Yeah.
mean, getting back to the story bit while you look for that,
Hmm.
you've got to think the narrative of a son of God dying, coming back, all of that. You don't have to take that part of the. If you don't take, like me, I have no idea. I've just kind of lacked that kind of faith. But still, as an individual, the fact that one story, one man's story, real or not, could shift civilization that much is in itself miraculous. There aren't many like that.
And
And
that,
shift it for the better.
yeah, and that's why I'm saying that it has to be. There's no way in hell that this is just a random chance. That this specific person, this specific place, this specific time has been recorded by at least 12 different people, 12 different variations, a little bit of variations, but almost identical. And it shifted not just one nation, it literally changed a couple of continents' exact histories, and changed the entire world's, uh, let's say, trajectory. We would have gone still to the dark ages if this hasn't happened, because we wouldn't have science, we wouldn't have knowledge, or the ability to write books or to keep all this information, because it will be destroyed by every civilization and every empire collapsing. It was the church that kept all the information records, including pagan books. They didn't have to, but they did. They kept a lot of this information to this day, and saved. Not only that, if it wasn't for the Christian doctrine, we wouldn't have any form of communication with people to talk to, or we won't be able to have like the decency to understand that these people are people like us, and they're made in the image of God, but they might not understand us. You know what I'm trying to get to? It's like
Okay, I think I know where you're going with that, and it goes back to my comment about one of the philosophical innovations of New Testament Christianity, which was everyone, every life is sacred. Life itself is sacred, and all are equal in the eyes of a God, which means that no, in the highest king and the lowliest pauper, it doesn't matter. That their lives are of equal value in the scheme of things. And there were a number of others that got added in. And I know today a lot of people assume that they're just, you know, common decency, but no, a lot of that stuff did not exist prior to it.
yeah,
Is that what
and
you mean?
yes, exactly. And yeah, I did find it, so I'll just show you the.
The divine right of kings and all that no longer carried the weight it once did.
Yep,
Okay. All right.
this is St. George's Church.
Oh, wow. How old is that?
Um, Let me see the date on it. Uh, 11,000. قبل ميكائيل على Zogo dynasty. Saint Ethiopia. I think this might be in the late 12th century, early 13th century. 25 or 25. Some of these places are the ones that basically have copies of the books.
I think the other thing that a lot of people overlook with, and this is not limited to just Christianity, but
Mm-hmm.
once I explain it, it'll make sense why it's important. But I think what a lot of atheist myths about mythology and theology in general is that they gave us a vocabulary to talk about bigger ideas, higher concepts that otherwise we wouldn't have. And that prior to that, and I mean, I'm going to use an example that isn't religious. I'll use one that just to give a sense, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When Star Wars came out, the very first film, there was a lot of sci-fi writers that were complaining and bitching and just were outraged at, oh, this dumb film is misrepresenting our genre. But
Yeah.
very quickly they found that that film did them a massive favor. And what they learned is after Star Wars came out, never again in a book did they have to explain what a hologram was. They
Uh-huh.
could just say hologram. Never again did they need to explain what hyperspace or light speed was.
Yep.
Never again did they have to get into android and robot. And in a sense, all these metaphysical and philosophical ideas, religion has given us a vocabulary for that. I mean, if you look at psychology,
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing how much psychology uses myth and religion to explain what they mean. How many syndromes are named after a myth because that is the story.
Yep, that is true. Um, and the way you're portraying it actually makes is a very simple way, which is actually I'm very grateful for. Thanks, because you're it distills the ideas, the higher level of thought, and that takes requires scientific knowledge or higher level of knowledge when it comes to religion or whatever it is, into a
Yeah.
simplistic, understandable, and easily digestible points that people can understand and emulate in their day-to-day lives and accept it. For example, like what you said with the lightsabers and all of
Yeah.
that, yeah, and Star Wars, you don't need to explain what a lightsaber is anymore. So you're right, and that's because you've already showed it in a physical. You showed an example of it.
You put it in a story.
Yeah, you put it in a story, and that people like the story, and because of the story's elements, they take some of the elements and added it to other things. And I think that might be from an atheistic point of view, that might make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but they don't look at it that way. They never do, and that's the issue that we're having. It's like they. The term that Dr. Jordan Peterson would say is like they throw the baby out with the
Yeah.
bathwater. They just say like, "Oh, all this is garbage, just humbug, just throw it," and that's the
Well,
issue.
here's the thing about the atheism for me is I wasn't sure in high school.
Hmm.
I knew I wasn't thrilled with the church, didn't like them very much in
Yep.
high school. There were plenty of born again evangelicals that gave the church a really bad rap, too. They were very obnoxious in the 90s and 80s.
Hmm.
But then I got shot and I nearly died. And I didn't have all the experiences that you're supposed to have when you're nearly dying. I didn't have some massive religious awakening. I didn't have the life flash before my eyes. I didn't have any of that stuff happen.
Hmm.
And I realized when I got shot that I knew with an absolute certainty, or I thought I did, that I only had about 5 minutes to live, that my life had been cut short.
Hmm.
And I realized at that point I was absolutely certain it was an off switch for me, that I would just flicker out like a light bulb and there'd be no more me. And that is why I was like, I guess I don't believe. That and I have a really, really hard idea of conceiving of a God that is like Yahweh or, I guess a God that behaves like a man.
Ah, I see.
It just can't really, no faith in that.
I see.
I mean, but you were the only one that ever talked to me. We were saying, and this was in Discord. I said, well, the only one that ever really appealed to me, and I talked about the concept of Kame, where it was like the river,
Hmm.
where it's the motion of everything, it's the universe itself happening, and that when you walk against it, things are terrible, but when you walk with the flow, you're doing what you're supposed to do. And you said, well, yeah, that's God. And I'm like, seriously?
Yeah,
I,
yeah. The reason why I said that is because people assume that God is the angry man in the sky with the basically bearded old man, and he's like,
yeah.
oh no, that's God is a being that we cannot even comprehend. That's how difficult it is to accept God for a lot of people. The I'm gonna go from my biblical side,
Okay.
which is the reason why Jesus Christ was even brought to this world was in order to show that God can for you to for you to understand God, a sliver of God Himself came to earth, came to earth in the form of a man. Basically, the Word became flesh. That's why they say the Word becomes flesh. It means that God in His entirety cannot come to earth to in His glory in front of people because it will drive them insane or they cannot understand or comprehend it. So, in order to connect with them on a personal level, God was Jesus Christ was put into the picture, and His words and teachings were that was connecting people to the faith in the form of oh, in order to connect to God or in order to become to worship God, it's only through me. I am the Alpha, I am the Omega, and there is a specific reason for that. And He's not saying it as in He's human, so therefore you have to worship Him. No, He's the physical manifestation of God on earth, and he's trying to connect people to him and telling them that I am here before you, and all you have to do is believe. All you have to do is basically like don't you know? I'm assuming you know this meme where or the story or the idea where God, Jesus Christ, would knock at the door, and all you have to do to accept is open the door. It's
I've
more of
heard that.
yeah. So that's the thing about it. It's not like the and also there is a lot of misconceptions like the Jewish tradition, the old Hebrew tradition is not what we actually know at the moment when it comes to what the Judaism or the people of Judah do right now. It's there's a lot of things that they removed. For example, the the priesthood and everything were not the rabbis. They were a specific tribe, the Levi tribe, one of
I
the
didn't
12.
know that.
You didn't know that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, there are 12 tribes, the 12 tribes of
I know about
Israel.
that part.
That you know, that's pretty obvious. But there is one tribe that David is from, is the tribe of kings. Always the family of kings come from this tribe. And then there is Levi, which is the priesthood. All the priesthood comes from that specific tribe. It's the tribe of Levi. And I think a lot of the doctrines and everything that they follow is literally Old Testament, not only Old Testament, also old Orthodox religions, philosophies, and the garb and the way to do the sanctum sanctimony. No, sanctimony. I forgot the term. The thing is, it's difficult to say it in English because I don't
Sanctify?
remember. Yes, sanctify. Yes, to
Okay.
sanctify things and to basically purify stuff, etc. Um, a lot of this information is not given to the normal people anymore, to everyday average people. The information is always either hidden, obscured, or taken out of a lot of documents. I don't know why. In the Bibles that I remember, the Chorim, being the high status of Jews surname, the even indicated descendants of the priests. Yes, exactly. Yep,
Okay. Kohanim, hence
Kohanim.
Cohen
Hmm.
is the high status Jewish surname even today, indicates that he was descended from the priesthood. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The priesthood actually died off. The last of them died off along with the other major tribes. Um,
You said they were all genocided, right?
yep, they were. Let's see if I can find this. The tribe of Levi. The thing is, I don't understand why people don't know this. It's like it's uh, it's right here usually.
Well, I went to catechism, and I went to, I guess yeah, just catechism. Then I had the nuns teach me stuff, and
Hmm.
I'll have to admit, a lot of it was very fascinating. I thought that I was lucky. These nuns were all very nice. I liked them. Apparently,
Mm,
that's not always the case.
of course.
But yeah, they were. It was it was kind of 50% history, 50% scripture, and I enjoyed it greatly. But I have to admit, after catechism, 90% of what we focused on in the Bible was almost all New Testament.
Mm,
And it was primarily the non-terrifying stuff.
mm.
So I guess the
That's
bloody stuff got left out.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There is a reason for that existing there in the book. There is actual reason why all the stories have a specific meaning to them, even the bloody ones, even the dark ones, but
Oh yeah.
they don't mention it because everybody is like, oh, I like this part, so I'll just take this part and I'll take this one. And in reality, they shouldn't be doing that. Uh, yeah, this is what I was talking about. In the Torah, it's written, but they don't talk about it. Or Levi or Levi, I think it's Levi, one of the 12 sons of Jacob, also known Israel.
Okay.
And they were always the tribe of the prophet, not the prophets, of the priesthood, meaning that they were only they cannot do business, they cannot work in the military, They cannot work any of the stuff. They were only in priesthood. House of Levi, Joseph. There's a lot of things that people don't understand, and I don't know why they didn't even mention this part. Like the house of David, for example, David's house. If I remember correctly, even David's tribe is also like the 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 tribe of kings tribe.
Yeah, we primarily got a lot of the parables and a lot of the stories of Christ's journeys and ministering.
Mm-hmm. Um, remember when I was saying about the one I shared with you earlier? Resettling tribes away from the homelands a matter of policy.
Yeah.
You lot move over there. That lot live over here now. Yes, that is true. That's a lot of things. 70 AD. Yep. Uh, hey Barn. Um, a lot of these religious doctrines. When I was looking around online to find some of the stuff that I like to read or listen to, uh, you remember I showed you the video about Nathaniel, and he said he was a bit more. Brother Nathaniel is a bit too much.
Yeah, no, he's fascinating. He's got a
Yeah.
great presentation,
Yep.
but there are
He,
times when
he,
I'm like,
he's a zealot. You
yeah,
think he
he is
is,
definitely a zealot.
but here's the thing. He actually understood the old order, the Old Testament showed a lot of the movement of like of the what is it called? Not the deal. There's not the contract. Fuck. If I remember it.
Covenant?
This the covenant. Yes,
Right.
the movement of the covenant from the exclusively from the Jews to the Gentiles, and there was a change in it as well. Yeah, Saul is a tribe name of Benjamin. David was of Judah. Yes, that's it. That's the one. Nastiest dynastic. Those parts are games of only wish. Yeah, true, true. That is true, and there is a reason for that. That entire family was nothing. They had nothing but they were basically royal blood, and they would fight over it. Samaria. There are still people in Samaria living in Israel today. Consider them the last Israelites. Yeah, the ones that survived. That is that are not killed yet by the Islamists. But yeah, there is also actually Jewish descents of King Solomon's King Solomon's wife. I forgot her name. Damn it.
I can't answer that one.
Yeah, I know. It's just my brain is just like hemorrhaging ideas, and I don't remember why these ideas just pop in my head.
I,
Mm,
I must admit, one of the things about Nathaniel that really shocked me, and I have no reason to doubt him, is
hmm
he grew up Jewish.
Yep, he is through and through Jewish. He's an Orthodox Jewish.
He was going to be a rabbi, wasn't he?
Yes.
And him talking about why he left Judaism and the stories he told, it was just like, Jesus, I had no idea it could be that miserable behind the scenes. And
Yep.
the part that got me was the level of hatred he talked about towards Christians.
hmm
And, we're always hearing about how Catholics secretly want to kill Jews. And it's like, I grew up in the Catholic Church and none of that ever came up.
Nope.
Ever.
Nope. Not even the Orthodox where I grew up. Like, actually, the funny thing is, it's the Muslims that want to kill the Jews. I
That was
grew
what
up.
my impression was.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that because every time I grew up in Saudi Arabia, they would tell me the same thing. Yes, Queen Sheba. Thank you very much. Yes, and her children and her descendants still exist to this day, and they're Ethiopian Jews in Ethiopia, by the way. Yeah, that's the idea. Thank you very much. It's Queen Sheba. Um. Oh yeah, and as I was saying, in Saudi Arabia, it's it's like a given fact that you should hate the Jews. It's that's how normal it is. Like they say, like I
That
rather
was the
deal.
impression I had.
Yeah, because that's it. Because I dealt with a lot of Muslims there, and because I grew up there, and a lot of them would tell me, "You are good for a Christian." They'll tell me this to my face, and I'm like, "Okay, thanks." What? and I ask them why, because I rather not deal with a Jewish person and never deal with a Jewish person. And there's a reason for that. They have this undying hatred for them for some odd reason. I don't know what it is. It might be something to do with the fact that they basically copied everything from Judaism and they're just want to destroy them, or is it because of the claim over the land? But they they have this undying hatred for them. And this is not just one sect of Islam. It's all sects of Islam. All of them hate the Jews, regardless.
Okay, here's one I wanted to mention then.
Mm.
I always heard from Jewish people saying, oh, well, Christians believe all the Jews have to die before God comes back. And I'm
No,
like, there's nowhere in Revelation,
no,
there's nowhere in the Gospels, nowhere in anywhere is that ever mentioned, and nowhere in my Catholic education was that ever mentioned. The
nope.
only place that I've seen all the Jews needing to die
Is in
was in the
Islam.
Muslim apocalypse.
Yep, yep,
And I read that.
yep. It's only in the Quran, and there's a reason for that. It's because they literally say. I remember it's a couple of verses. What does they say? Yes, it says like behind every tree, the tree will whisper to the Muslim that there's a Jew hiding behind me and kill them. Like literally, this is what it says. Behind every rock, an eye will tell. The rock will tell that there is a Jew hiding. Like this is how they hated them. Meanwhile, Jews hate Christians, especially evangelists. While evangelists Christians are most. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is true, Barwan. Um, and from the education that I had when it comes to Christianity, it's like yes, they were the chosen. Yeah, rocks and trees are snitches. Yes, all of trees are snitches. Uh,
Okay, so yeah.
yeah, it's uh, a lot of the Orthodox tradition would tell you that they are they are God's people, but now the contract or the covenant has been given to all of mankind, meaning that it doesn't make them special anymore. That's what I never understood, why they felt like they were like the special ones. It never it's like it's not even in the book anymore. It's never
Well,
been in the book.
I've seen interviews on the whole Christian issue
Mhm.
and the Jew and Gentile issue with Jews.
Mhm.
And I will say I was a little unnerved how many of them said, well, the difference is that we have a soul.
Yeah,
That
I've heard
Jews
that.
believe that everyone else doesn't have a soul. And it's like, I don't know about that, guys.
That one is exactly what Nathaniel was talking about as well. Uh, it's the idea that they have a pure Jewish soul, which is like um that there isn't any in the Old Testament anything about that. Not even in the Torah, it's not there.
I
It's
mean, the way they were talking about it was where the Bible described the difference between man and animal.
they use it that way, but there isn't anything like that. Like it's just they it makes them feel better about themselves as being special, like any other people. Like they always have for example, the Muslims do this the same thing. I heard that the Quran said, if you want to know more about God,
Oh,
ask
okay.
Jesus follower the Christ. Yeah, that's true. They literally say that in their book, in the earlier verses. Like what you guys might not know is that the Quran has this philosophy they follow, which is the old the old uh, the old lines or the old proverbs are superseded by the later ones, meaning that any idea that is later on used would usually be, for example, if they say like, "Oh, Christians and everything, we should be friends with Christians because they are also followers of the book." At the first part of the book, is later on squashed by the aspect of we must go to their homes and kill them and murder them and leave none alive, because there's literally there are two parts of the in the hadith and everything. It literally says that my boomer dad is a Catholic counselor. Hmm. I don't know that. Is that pure soul idea from the Talmud? I might need to check that out because I'm not exactly sure, William.
The Talmud's huge.
Yeah.
The Talmud always struck me as basically like legal documents where there's so much law that basically you can just dig through it and find what you want to say what you want.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing. The Talmud is nothing more than just the not the religious law aspect of it. It's not sorry, not religious law, the Jewish law only. It's not the it's not the spiritual aspects of it. It has nothing to do with the spiritualism or the aspect of God in it. It's all about law and what to do. In case of this, what happens and all that. Let me see if I can find. The thing is, I really need to find a book of a website that has like the entire Talmud, and I can just scan through it. Because there are some things that I don't understand.
Actually, one of the
So,
things I thought was amusing when I read the apocalypse as told in the Quran was
mhm.
it read like one great big list of who goes to hell and how they're punished. Yeah, I was expecting something like Revelation that's just this beautifully written text of just horror. I
Yeah,
mean, it's really real well written. And you read the Muslim one, and it's just a list of okay, and then these people die this way, and they get punished this way.
and the funny thing is, you're absolutely right. It's because they're very simplistic. They don't know anything about it, and their only closest version of punishment is just that people die. That's it. That's their punishment. I think that Islam has connections with the Catholic Church, the Assyrian
I
Church.
have no idea. I couldn't answer that.
Hmm. The Assyrian Church specifically, I don't think so, because, like for example, the current ruler of Syria is not Muslim. He's not Muslim. He's of a different sect entirely. He's not even Shiite. It's kind of different Assyrian religion.
While you're digging through that, I did have another question that I wanted to bring up,
Yeah,
and I was
please.
just curious. Now, you're an Orthodox Christian, right?
Yes,
Does that mean Coptic or?
Coptic. Yes, like the Eritrean Coptic Church or Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Yeah.
So, other than what I've seen through Brother Nathaniel, and a little bit I've read in my own because I'm curious, how does it differ from the Western Church? One of the things I saw, and you can confirm this for me, was that faith alone can't save you; that you also had to have action.
Um, Faith is basically the bedrock that you have, that you
Hmm.
need. You have to have faith. And the works aspect is not just the works of, oh, you have to do these works because it gives you a gateway to heaven. It's not that. It's more that you are helping your fellow man, and it's the right thing to do. It's not the works that is, it's not like a requirement of works. Alawite. Yes, classic Levantine tribe mystery religion. Yep, that's the one. Oh yeah, you were totally. What did you say? You were again Mr. Conqueror, did you? Oh God. It's like uh works are necessary because it's for the community. It's like in the world itself, but that's the reason for it. It's not like a necessity for God. God does not expect you to do works because that you will do them regardless. That's the whole premise. Like you are doing them to help your fellow Christians, your fellow brothers, or fellow human beings. Because think about it. What are the works usually? It's like to do good, alms, help orphans, stuff like that. Usually are the good works, right?
Oh, I thought it was something even more simple as just leading a moral life and
The moral life.
treating people decently and
Oh, that comes just with with the religious itself. So I didn't even think
yeah.
of it that way. Sorry. For me, it's like that's common sense. That's the whole
Well,
point.
keep in mind there is a sect of evangelical of I can be a dipshit as long as I'm saved.
Uh, oh God, don't
That,
even
that that
remind me.
does exist, unfortunately.
I believe you, but again, you see that's where the white knight with the cross, the Templar knight me comes out and says heresy. Because seriously, if you think about it, if your behavior does not emulate Jesus Christ, you are not saved. Your behavior must emulate him. You must try to, as close as possible, uh, to adhere to what Jesus Christ's life was. For example, I think there's a saying. It wasn't in the Bible. I don't remember exactly was it in the Bible or not. But it's like if you for a rich man to enter heaven, it's like through
I
to
have a
walk
needle.
the eye of a needle, and there's a reason for that. The reason for that is because the real life and the greed and the corruption of the world will affect him, and he won't be a good Christian. It's not because of the wealth; it's because of the life and the ability that money gives you, the power that it gives you, corrupts you.
Hence,
Yeah.
hence the misnomer that often gets passed around in Catholicism, which is poverty is makes you a good person.
No, 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 no.
I
It's not.
know.
Yeah, that, you see, these are the things that I completely disagree with Catholicism, and it's because that part does not make any sense. It's not about being poor. It's about understanding that you as a human being are a fallen being and you're susceptible to anything, be it wealth, be it lust, and all the seven deadly sins, basically. Because think about it, money is one of the greatest evils. Why? Because it gives you access to all these sins. It gives you into lust, it gives you into gluttony. You can buy too much and you eat too much or drink too much.
Yeah.
It's all about excess, and also and of course, like less, like you have money but you're so greedy with your money that you don't buy enough food for your family and for yourself. That self is also a sin. It's all about balance. It's about trying to live a balanced life and help your community and your fellow man. But that's the problem when it comes to like not Western people who do not understand that the spiritual realm is there about balance. It's like trying to mitigate your human nature, your human cravings.
Well, if there was one thing that I would really like to see impressed upon our culture right now that we really need to get back is the idea that money is fine, wealth is no, no, no. Hear me out on this, okay?
Mm,
Money's fine, wealth is fine,
mm-hmm,
prosperity's great,
mm-hmm.
but that there that doesn't mean you have a full life. That life itself is really empty if that's all you're living for. I mean, there are much more important things in life than just amassing money and wealth, and that seems to have been lost.
Well, that's because the moral foundation is gone. If you think about it, that idea that you just mentioned, that comes from the idea of, oh, I have this wealth, I have this mammon. One of Kenneth someone mentioned. Oh, we had to go there.
We'll go there later.
Yeah. Um, it's like money is there. If I remember, no, it's like this. Even Jesus Christ himself, they tried to to trick him into denouncing Julius
I
Caesar.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and what did they say? Well, they say, okay, then what do we do about Jesus Christ, about Julius Caesar? Do we not give him any money and we don't pay any taxes and we ignore him because that he's not our tribe or he's not does not believe in our God? No, and he turns around and tells them that give unto Caesar what is Caesar, what is due Caesar. He asked them, what's in the coin? He literally asked them, this coin, whose face is it? Whose name is it on? It's Julius Caesar. Nero, or whoever the emperor is. Whose wealth is this? Is it yours or is it God's or is it his? It's his. So therefore you give him unto Caesar what is to Caesar. And we give what to God is what's to God. For the love of money is the root of all evil. Yep, exactly. Which while some covet after it, theirs for the faith and has pierced themselves through many sorrows. That is absolutely correct, 100%. Damon is mentioning the verse Timothy 6:10, and it talks about the that money is the root of all evil, which I mentioned to you earlier.
Yeah.
Because money basically gives you is the gateway to all types of evil. Uh, true, a pure heart is dedicated to God. Money is okay. David and Solomon were wealthy, but it's the sin of greed and lust. That's true. Like literally, it was the case. Uh, um,
Yeah, because I see these people who it's all about chasing dollars, and it's like there's more to life than chasing dollars.
and do you know why that happens, Ishi? The main reason why that happens is, ironically, it's because they're empty inside. They literally are empty inside. They're like an empty, is a big gaping hole in their heart, and they don't feel satisfied by anything. So they think they try to chase something that they can never get, which is fulfillment. So that in order to get that form of fulfillment, they go after money, because that's like the easiest thing that they can get their grasp their hands on.
The
Think about
immediate thing that comes to mind
it.
is all these stories where you hear about call girls
Mm-hmm.
who serviced the super wealthy,
Mm-hmm.
and that what a lot of them will say is when they meet these guys, they suddenly start to realize how lonely and empty they are.
Yep. And that's the reason right there. You see there, as human beings, uh, I find it that it's very, very strange that people are what is it called, counterintuitive when it comes to things. Like they want things, but they don't understand that the most valuable things are right within grasp. For example, a wealthy man, it's very easy for him to find himself a beautiful virgin woman and get married and have kids, and that will be his purpose in life. And that his kids would be the ones that he can take care of. Dumbest fight. Yes, it is the dumbest fight. Uh, so it's like the poor people understand this very, very easily, because to them they don't have that weight of wealth or the need for money, so they take care of their families first. And when they do, they ironically get fulfillment out of that. That's why a lot of the poor people are actually the happiest, because they have children, they have grandchildren. They're When they're dying in their deathbed, all they do is they see their grandchildren and they see their great grandchildren, and that's it. They feel that they have done their due diligence, or they've done their duty in this world, and they can leave it in peace. While the people who are wealthy don't have families, or if they do have families, they're estranged families, like their wives don't want to talk to them, divorced, or kids are absolutely loathe them,
You have
or
Paris Hilton shit shows.
oh yeah, or they're beyond retardation because you can't help them anymore.
Yeah.
And ironically, the world is so balanced that the richest people who have they have kids, their kids are beyond help, and there's a reason for that. It's because the evil that they have does not continue. That family line gets cut off there. It's kind of funny, but it's in a darker, gruesome way.
So, okay, people keep asking
Hmm.
Candace Owens versus Ben Shapiro.
It's dumb. It's dumb.
You want to weigh in on that?
Okay, I can.
I mean,
Um.
they seem to really want to hear our take on this.
Okay. Do you want to go first or me? Because I'm the black guy, so I can use that as an excuse to start if you want. Whatever you like.
Go right ahead. Let's
All
hear
right.
your take.
All right. For me, I feel that this situation is beyond retarded, because again, from a political standpoint, they're both on the same side, but they're fighting over this. And in Ben's case, if he's so uptight about it, yeah, of course, Alice, she did nothing wrong. I understand. I'm getting to that. If if Ben is so hung up about that, why doesn't he go and arm himself and go fight the war? If he's
Because
that
he,
desperate. Hmm?
cause he wants your kids to do it.
Exactly. And that's the problem that I have with him. It's the hypocrisy. And okay, you're saying warmongering and all that. I get it. If he's that much, he loves that country that much, then okay, give away your American citizenship and fucking immigrate to Israel. Stay there. Like, okay, you can fight then. Then you have all the right to talk about it. But as an American, aren't you supposed to be America first? America is what you need to take care of. Like, your family is here, your countrymen are here. That's who you have to take care of. And in Candace's case, Candace did nothing wrong. Like, literally nothing wrong. She just, ironically, she's a good Christian woman. Married and has a kid on the way. Yeah, he is an ideologue. That's the problem. He is an ideologue. He literally he did the same thing, the same sins that the leftists do, which is like, oh, you're anti-Semitic, or you're racist because of the fact that you're saying like Israel can fend for itself. All that's what, and even then, Candace Owen herself did not say anything wrong. She literally just quoted the Bible and quoted a specific verse that talks about that we should not care about war and not kill people. That's it. And that's my take. She did nothing wrong. That's it.
My take on it is that she was on point. Somebody had to say it, and I'm glad she did it. Um, and that I thought it was thoroughly disgusting that both Shapiro and Mark Levin go on national television and say, well, if America doesn't start supporting Israel and sending troops and money, we might have to start nuking places. I mean, how are you any different than North Korea at this point? I mean,
Well,
what kind of blackmail is this? Is, well, if you don't fight our war and give us money, we're going to have to nuke people, maybe even nuke Europe. That's, I mean, what is moral in that? Nothing. I mean, it's not our fight. And he is way, way too interested in wiping out the enemy. I mean, the little man is very bloodthirsty.
which is kind
And,
which is kind
yep,
of funny. Which is kind of funny because he's like, "Oh, we have to think about not to start wars and all that." And now he's like the first one to complain about why are we not having boots on the ground?
right.
So, he's too
And
much of
this
an
is just,
ideologue.
it's not our fight. And I have to hand it to Candace as well of, what was it? Don't even pull the anti-Semitism card after what white America has had to put up with for the last 20 years,
Yep.
where every crime in history is white America's fault, where every horrible thing ever done is white America's fault. White men should be ashamed. White people need to apologize for this, that, and the other thing. And by the way, the Holocaust too. And it's like, you know what? I don't care anymore. I just don't give a shit.
Um, didn't the Holocaust happen like 80 years ago, 100 years ago, some shit like that?
Didn't our grandfathers die, or at least here in
Y-
America,
Yeah, they
to
did.
free the Jews because they
Yeah,
didn't fight their own fucking war?
yep, they did. But they don't understand because they're about the here and now. They're like, "Oh my God, you're not supporting us, though. Therefore, you are the same as the Nazis." Wah! That's the only thing that they do. They don't realize that America has done more than enough for the Jews. Like it has more than enough. They if they ha- they're big boys, right? They have their own fucking nuclear weapons. They should take care of it themselves. Why do they need America's help?
And for them to keep on bringing up the Samson option, I mean, do you know the history on that?
I heard it from from the streams that you were talking about it, but I never heard about it until you mentioned it. So they basically have nuclear weapons
They have nuclear weapons.
and they're pointing it towards Europe and America.
They have a strategy of if the world does not come to their aid and they think they're going to lose a war,
Hmm.
that they will fire off their nukes to hit Moscow, Rome, every capital in Europe, and the U.S. if they can reach it. Oh, and all of the Islamic holy sites.
Yeah, and they're expecting us to help them. Hmm. I rather they just get glassed because I don't care. To be honest with you, this is
Yeah, I
ridiculous.
don't. It's not our fight. It's not our problem.
Hmm.
I mean, we have done more as a nation for them than. I mean, we fought a war. We freed them from the camps. We gave them homes after the war. We supported them getting a nation, even though it caused problems. I mean, seriously, at some point, you guys have got to. This can't be a one-way thing. You're not that special.
Exactly. They gave them billions. Yes, they did. They did, undead. You're right. But here's the thing: they don't care. Remember the greed, the shekels thing, the meme. It comes from from a specific reason. It's a lot of these people do not have any sense of oh, the end is coming and that God is gonna punish us. They don't feel that way. They have. I saw a video from Nathaniel about this, and he was talking about this. He's like, "Do you believe in sin?" He asked them. They'll tell him no. They don't believe in sin.
Who did he ask?
He asked actual Jewish people. They would tell him that they believe in sin, but the sin is wiped clean once a year. Yeah, yeah, I
How?
know how. By a specific ritual they do. And it's the same thing with like the Muslims. Like it comes to like the Ramadan time, the month of Ramadan, when if you had sins throughout the year, if you do Ramadan, it cleanses you of your sins.
Okay. Uh, okay. That explains a lot.
Yeah, like, and the funny thing is, they say they're fasting, right? They're not fasting. They're actually gorging themselves on food. It's like a month long of festivities and food, but it's only done at night. That's what people don't understand. It's like for example, the Jews don't understand that they are not God's people anymore. They are one of many people on earth that are God's people. Everybody is God's people, but they don't want to accept it. It's a strange thing to watch a 95-year-old Jewish Lehi terrorist fighter tell IDF soldiers to kill all Muslim neighbors in Israel and Palestine. It is sick racist to watch him on YouTube. Well, that's what you get when it comes with these type of people. That they remember the Bible is a historical fact too. You know, like they were bloody people. They're bloodthirsty people. No, God, that wasn't me. The chicken did all those sins. Yes, yes, exactly. Oh,
Okay, explain that one to me.
oh, it's like basically, if I remember correctly, it's that the sacrifice. It's like you kill something, and it takes the sins for you, and that the sins are been transferred over to a chicken.
Like
Yes,
voodoo?
yes, technically speaking, if I remember, let me find it.
Oh
It's
my
like
god, that's like voodoo.
ye- technically speaking, yes, it is voodoo, but it's Jewish thing. It's a Jewish thing. Sins on the chicken.
It's not sex if I do it through a hole in the blanket.
Oh yeah, it's called kaparot. Kaparot is a custom in which the sins of a person are symbolically transferred to a fowl or bird, and it's custom practiced in the Orthodox Church, not Orthodox circles, on the day of Yom Kippur. It's a Jewish tradition. I will copy this and I'll put it on the.
Wow.
This is it.
Okay. So, getting back to my initial question, what else really separates Orthodox Christianity from Western?
Okay. Um, the political aspect is what's also separating it. For example, if you look at Catholicism, Catholicism is trying to maintain that the church is involved with government, like the old ways of, if you remember, during the Dark Ages and everything. The Orthodox Church doesn't. The Orthodox Church establishes that the church is where people go to for religious relief or for religious issues, and not for governmental issues. So therefore, it's inherently separated to begin with. The only thing that they say or involve themselves in politics is when it comes to attacking the individuals. Like if you're going to cause problems to the church or to the people, to the following of the faith of some kind. That's all. That's usually how it is. The church
So
is
their
literally.
pope doesn't have kind of a king aspect to him.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't because there isn't a pope to begin with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Orthodox do not have a pope. What they have is uh, archbishops, or yeah, archbishops, and the archbishops are for each church of each country. That's how it goes. Like for example, there is the diocese, I think, or archbishop of Russia, of Ukraine, of Egypt. These are like the highest level of authority. Patriarchs, yes, that's the correct term. And it doesn't go further than that. They are not a king. and they do not. The only thing that they might have over government is that they are exempt from taxes, and that's because usually whatever taxes they should be paid would usually be paid off to the government or to the king of that era or etc. But that's it.
Yeah, I
And
remember back in the old Dark Ages, the papacy pretty much had it that they wanted kings to ask permission before passing policies or taking action.
yep, and that's because again the church grew because of the fact that there was no other religion at that time, and knowledge was not given to everybody. The center of knowledge was all concentrated at the church. That's one of the reasons there were problems between the Catholic and the Orthodox. There is a lot of the the Pope is not a representation of God. That's like one thing that immediately, like, any Orthodox will tell you, no, he's not. There is no such thing.
Oh, well, you're gonna love what they told me in catechism as to what the difference was.
Oh, let's see. Let's hear it.
The nuns said that, well, the only reason that they split apart is that they wanted to keep a few other books from the Bible, and they wanted to do a lot of weird mystical stuff that we don't do.
That's
That
part of
was what they told us.
that. Oh
They
God.
wanted to do a lot of weird superstitious things that we don't do.
Oh boy. Uh, the, here's the thing. The superstitious parts are actually fundamental parts of the Bible that they didn't want to include. For example, the Book of Enoch. There's a couple of other books that they literally around eight. It's like around 35, maybe 45 books that they removed. But the
That's quite
Orthodox,
a bit.
I know quite a bit because it's a lot of historical information that is necessary, and they just completely outright removed it. And what's this? Okay, there's also other things that we have a problem with, like that the Orthodox also have a problem with in regards to, remember, the Pope. There's no such
Hmm.
position. There's no such position in the Orthodox Church, and there's a reason for that, because uh, Saint Paul, or Paul, the
Yeah,
Apostle Paul, mentioned that the church, the head of the church, is the one responsible for that church. It's not. There's no unifying church. Each church is part of the same church, but at the same time, it's within its own. Yes, exactly. Pretty close. Also, Chair of Christ. Yeah. Told an Ishi, do you guys notice that the Jewish rabbi with the black cube on their heads and the Muslims and mosque have a black cube worship with similarity to them? Otherwise, they just kill. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I know a little bit about the cube.
Mm-hmm.
At least the popular explanation was that, and there's truth to this. Apparently, one of the things that kept occurring throughout Judaism was that any time the Jews started to integrate with the local host civilization and take on their traditions and their culture and actually start becoming citizens of that nation, the rabbis would move in and ghettoize them and do everything they could to ensure that they didn't do that. And in fact, that's one of the reasons the Jews started killing off the Hellenic Jews in Greece, was because they were the fundamentalists versus the Hellenic.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I understand, those cubes on the head were, at the time in Greece, it was popular to have magic charms or talisman around your neck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, lucky charms, essentially.
Yep.
And it was just stylish. And apparently, the rabbis didn't like the fact that their flock was all buying them, so they forbade them as paganism, and then sold them. They said, "Okay, no, we have this box thing instead."
Hmm.
And apparently, there are prayers wrapped up inside them or something.
Yeah. It's the same thing with the eye of Ashida or something, which is basically a hand, pendant with a hand and an eye in the middle. It's usually to keep away curses and the evil, and like the evil eye, to protect
Yeah.
against it. It's the same culture. Like a lot of these cultures do this because they believe in this. It's like a notion of people's eyes can actually curse people and cause them ill fortune. That's after my very lucky charm.
Let's see. They're after my lucky charm. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So,
But yeah, I always thought there was. Yeah, I always kind of wondered about the obsession with black cubes and black stones in Judaism. I've never been able to find an answer on that.
uh,
BlackRock Financial, Blackstone Security.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny that it's always these, and ironically, who owns them again? It's like shekel, shekel, shekel.
They're
That is,
Israeli companies.
yep. You see, it's because the traditions are rooted in their Talmud mostly. It's mostly there, so they don't change. They don't wanna. They wanna separate themselves, and they do it on purpose because they would lose their identity, and that is like terrifying to them. Even though, ironically enough, Jesus Christ or God, Jesus Christ, has already given the blessing that you have become one with the Gentiles, and you're all the same under me.
Well, the part I find offensive is so many of them are dead set on that, but yet
Yep.
against us having a national identity.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's because
No one else can have one.
it's it's because they think that they are God's people, right? So they're on that level of thought process. It's like we are special, everybody isn't. So everybody has to be all meshed together except for us. That's the mental thought. It's that simple. We have a soul, they don't. That type of thing.
So, what was it like being a Christian in Saudi Arabia?
Oh, where do I even begin with this one? This one is
Have fun, let loose. I've always wanted to ask.
okay. It's basically you're an outsider, and you're told to your face that you're an outsider and you're hated.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, to your face. Like you, they would call you kafir, which is basically means infidel or non-believer to your face. If they find something about you that is kind of weird, for example, if they notice that you don't go to the mosque and everything, because here's the thing: their assumption is everybody's Muslim. That's the basic premise of them. It's like everybody here is Muslim. So if you, by any chance, are different, immediately they will turn their gazes and their hatred towards you, and they will harass you into either becoming Muslim or fight you or try or eventually try to kill you. Because if a Muslim kills, oh hey Yang, if a Muslim kills a Christian or kills an infidel, you get to heaven immediately. That's your gateway
Oh,
to
how
heaven.
nice.
How wonderful. And it's like, oh great, so now I have to keep my mouth shut and not tell people that I'm a Christian, because if I say that, their attitudes would change immediately. And there's a reason for that, because my Arabic is as good as theirs, so they don't realize, they think that I'm one of them, so they will behave they will show me their true nature.
So you saw the unfiltered
Yes,
behavior.
yes, their unfiltered behavior, because I am not an outsider. So I'm basically a spy in the middle of enemy territory, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that they do not, and I mean they do not like Christians. They do not want to be friends with Christians, and the only ones who want to be friends with Christians are actually, they're inherently good. Those people are inherently good, which is kind of funny. They're, even though they're Muslim, they don't want to do any of the violence whatsoever, and they're a small minority. Actually, they're not the majority.
Okay, I read a book about a year or two ago called Caliphate
Hmm.
by Tom Krautman. It's a sci-fi novel. Basically, Europe becomes a caliphate,
Hmm.
and there's a war between the caliphate and the United States.
Hmm.
But it was written by someone who'd lived over there for long periods of time in the Middle East
Hmm.
and really understood it. He was an intelligence analyst for the army.
Hmm.
And the way that he portrayed Islam, and this is why I want to get your take on it,
Okay.
was that he portrayed a society where the rules themselves are such that if you want to survive, you have to be a terrible person.
Yes, that is correct. That's absolutely 100% correct. Because the nicer you are, the more you're victimized. Like literally, people victimize one another and their own family members. So imagine if you're an outsider, you will be completely destroyed. And if they find a weakness of some sort, they will exploit it all the time, either blackmail, or harassment, or whatever it is. For example, um, I actually have a couple of friends who are gay, and they can't even say
Okay.
that. They can't say that in Saudi Arabia. They
Well,
told
won't the
me
Virtue and Vice Squad kill them?
exactly. Their family would disown them, and then their own families will kill them. So they basically confided in me, and I was surprised. And I asked them why, because they said like, you're not one of us. You're a Christian, so you won't betray us.
Holy shit!
Yes, yes,
That doesn't that say it all? Well, you're a
yes,
Christian. You'll keep your word.
yeah, exactly.
Holy crap!
Yep. And this shook me to the core, because if that's the case, then I'm right here. Then all this what do you call it? All this weakness of faith that I had as a kid was unjustified, because I was right. They were wrong, because they're that evil to themselves, let alone to people of other religions. So that shows me that that religion is not truly the religion that they say it is. It's not a religion of peace, as they would call it.
It's one of
It's more,
submission.
yes, it's a total and utter submission. Al-istislam, as they call it. Istislam is like to surrender. And ironically enough, uh, I had a friend of mine, a colleague that I used to work with. He was pretty young. He was like 21, and I was like around maybe 26 at the time. Uh, he did not tell me this, but he he was really good, and he was atheistic. He was not a Muslim. He was atheistic, but he wouldn't tell his family because they would kill him. So he told me in again, he's like, "You're like the only one who I can talk to that I know that would not betray me." So so he told me this. He told me in confidence, and I'm like, "Really, dude? I would love you to be one of us, a Christian, to follow the Christian tradition, but I can't tell you that because again, you are in a you're in a shitty environment already as it is, so I can't say anything. So I wish you the best." And he told me like, "You see, you were pretty nice about it. If I told this to my father or to anyone, they would kill me. They would
His
literally."
head would be off.
Yep, exactly. And he was a really he read the Quran and he tried to understand it, but a lot of the things do not make any sense to him. He was very westernized because of that. Even though he was born in Saudi Arabia and he grew up there, it's just that he realized that there's a lot of things that do not make any sense. So what he did is he gave me his information and he just disappeared for 6 months. And I thought they got him or they killed him. Later on, he tells me, "I'm on my way to Australia. See ya." He escaped, and I
Well,
was
at least it
happy.
had a happy ending, other than, and then
Yeah,
he was dead.
yeah. And then he was dead. The funny thing is, like, luckily for me, they didn't, because he didn't tell anybody after that, and he just disappeared. He left work, he left family, everything. He just disappeared, and he went to Australia. So I'm happy for him. He remembered me after 6 months, which is like a blessing in itself. Like, oh, he's still alive, and he remembered me. And he said, "Thanks to you, I got out." Because I told him, if you're that desperate and you feel alone, don't stay in a place that will kill you. Try to get out.
Yeah.
You can get out. I can't. I told him like that, like literally to his face. I told him, "You can get out. I can't. For me, I don't have a home country to go to. You have a home country. You're a Saudi. You have papers. You have money. Get the fuck out." And he listened to me and he left, which I'm happy for.
So,
Um,
what are Muslims like behind closed doors? Because they thought you were Muslim. What are they?
they're
What are we not? What are we not told?
okay. First of all, a lot of them, ironically, don't care about anything. They just want to drink, fuck, and have as much money as they can. That basically they are baseline, very, very baseline thought process. They have no thoughts beyond the baseline. They're like, "I want wives, women, kids, drinking if possible, but they can't because you know how it is, and cars and stuff like that." They're very, very simplistic. They don't have any philosophical aspects or belief of anything, and they just go with it because that's what they're born into it. So they don't know. and they have no individuality because again, the religion itself just fucking crushes any individuality, makes you nothing more than a cog in a machine. In literal sense, you're just another sheep. Me against my brother, me and my brother against my cousin, cousin against, yeah, that's me against my brother. That's literally how they be. If you look at what Yang just said here, Ishi, me against my
Yeah.
brother, me against me and my brother against my cousin, and my brother and my cousin against the outsider. That's literally how they behave. That's how it is. They're always fighting.
It sounds
Always.
miserable.
Oh, it is. It is. It is. And they're very tribalistic too. They have a lot of tribal infighting too. Like this tribe hates this tribe because of something that happened to them a hundred or some years ago, and they keep the grudge going. And if someone is involved with them outside these people, they still involve them in the grudge, like me.
I think that's something a lot of Middle Easterners just cannot grasp.
Yep.
I've heard about even non-religious Jews being bitter about something the Romans did like 1,800 years ago, and it's like, I'm an American. We went to war with Germany and Japan, and
We're
then
friends
rebuilt their
now.
countries and made friends with them. Nobody fucking cares anymore. I can't grasp holding a grudge for thousands of years, much less hundreds.
Because again, Ishi, remember, you come from a Christian background. In Christianity is forgive. It's to
Yeah,
forgive. In Islam and Judaism, there's no forgiveness. You can never forgive someone. The whole
you know
aspect
what?
of, huh?
That was the other thing I was going to say is another aspect that was an innovation of New Testament Christianity,
Mhm.
and that was the idea that there's forgiveness, redemption, and that anybody can be redeemed.
Exactly. That's the thing.
That's not universal.
Oh no, no, it's not universal. It's only Christian doctrine, followers of Christian doctrine that do that. The only grudge is worth holding out against the English. Oh, okay, hold on. By the way, Ishi, Born Smith wrote something here. Ishi and Tewelde. That
Okay.
is
Oh,
why
about
Thomas,
Jefferson.
yeah, having to war with the barbaric Islamist extortion or non-believers, 90% jizya trade to trade and live. It's impossible for them to live in Western. Yes, exactly. That's what I keep telling people. The Middle East is the Middle East for a reason. They do not understand that you have to live and let live. There is no aspect of live and let live. It's like why is he a kafir? He has to convert or else. It's always like that. Or else. It's always by the sword.
Well, I do know that it is such a overbearing religion that I mean, it even has instructions on what to do in the bathroom
Yes, that's correct. Using your right hand or left hand, cleaning this and that. Yeah.
and what to say and what not to say. And
Yep, yep. It's think of it as a completely all-encompassing system to the point that nobody can think outside that system. That's why the people there are so dumb. If you think about it,
ouch.
if you noticed, a lot of them are dumb. The reason they're dumb is because they cannot accept any ideas outside of the norm, whatever the Quran tells them to. They're very, very stagnant because of that. Like for example, in the Middle East, I used to work as in Saudi Arabia. I used to work as a translator for Arabic to English, and these people have money. They can go to universities and study and learn the language, but they don't want to. Why would I learn that kafir language? Why would I learn that? Like, literally, that's the thing they would tell me. Or their English would be horrendously bad. And the one that actually learn English very well are the I it's I think it's because of how English is portrayed in systems and how it teaches you. They acquire a lot of the moment they learn English very well, very fluently. They become more Americanized or Westernized. So a lot of the things like traditions in Arabic and stuff, they start hating. Because I used to work with someone like that. He was basically a CEO, or I think you would call him basically the lawyer, the lawyer of a corporation that I used to work in, and he studied in America. So he tells people bluntly the truth, and they don't like him because of that.
It's not the religion of peace.
Oh no, 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 no. It's not. It's not. A friend of my mom has a son who converted to Islam, and he was killed by his wife's family to a trip to Pakistan because his wife had no idea she was promised to someone else.
Oh, jeez.
Whoo! Oh yeah, that's typically how it goes. Yep.
Shit.
Mm-hmm. British soldiers was kidnapped in 1947 from Somalia. He was involved in with an Arab Muslim woman, and he was kidnapped by her brother and forced marriage, and to be converted to Islam. Yeah, yeah, to live. Yep, yep, that's it. This to this day happens. Now it's even worse. If it's a Caucasian or a black man or let's say a Negrite or a white person, it doesn't matter. Like different than Arab, and they get involved with their daughter or sister or something, they just go on killing. They don't give them a chance anymore.
All right, so we've been on for about an hour and a half. So, is there any
Mhm.
other stories you want to share with the audience about being a Christian in Saudi Arabia before we call it a night?
Yes, I do actually. Um, this one is kind of funny. When I was 15, 16, it was during the summer vacation, basically the one in between school terms. There were internet cafes where we used to go to get information, to get internet and download movies and stuff because we don't have internet everywhere. I got held up by a cop because he told me, "Why didn't you go to the mosque?" And I told him I'm a Christian, and he's like, "What? What is that? What is that? What's Christian?" I am in Arabic. It's Masihi. I'm of Masih. I mean, I'm of Christ, Christian. And he didn't understand. And he comes off with the whole beard, long beard, and
Yeah.
short sleeves and everything. He's one of those. He's a cop, but he's also extremely religious cop. So I get caught. Me and my friend get caught, and we're taking. He said, "Get in the car or else." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't want to get shot, so I'm just gonna go in the car." I get in the car. They take me to the police station, and they literally ask, "Hey, what did you do here? What did you do? Why are you here?" I told him, "I don't know." Slap. Uh, I'm like, "Okay, I can't do anything. He's a cop. If he slaps me, I'll just take it." And he asked my friend as well, "What are you doing here?" "I don't know. This cop caught us, and he told us to come here." And he slapped him as well, and then start beating us. And then later on, the lieutenant comes by, like 3 hours later. We're standing outside. We're not in the prison. We're not in the jail. We're just outside we're the perimeter where there's like a fence and everything,
Yeah.
and there's the building, and there's like the fence that's outside. They kept us standing there. Said, "Don't move. If you move, we'll find you and we'll beat you. We'll kill you." Basically in Arabic. So we're just standing there, terrified. A couple of teenagers. We don't know what the hell. And then this lieutenant comes by and he's like, "Okay, what's your name? What do you have papers?" And I was like, "What do you mean papers?" "It's called iqama. It means it's like a temporary residence card." "I don't have it because I was born there, and plus I'm like 16, so I don't have the papers yet." So they're like, he's like, "Okay, do you know why you're here?" "I don't know." I told him, I don't know." He punches me. He fucking
Oh,
punches me in
God.
the stomach. I'm like, "Okay, just I don't know. I'm just gonna get hit, and I'll just maybe I'll just go to prison or something." It's like, okay. Then this guy is like, he calls the guy who brought us, and he tells him, what did they do? They were not in prayer. They did not go to the mosque. And he's like, "Seriously, you brought these kids because of that?" "Yeah, they didn't go to prison." And he asked me, "Why didn't you go to the mosque?" I told him I'm Christian. So, and he's like explaining to this dumbass who doesn't know anything about religions. He's like telling him they are Christian. They follow Jesus. They in Arabic it's Ahl Yasur. They're from Jesus. He didn't understand, but he's like, "Okay, so they don't follow our tradition. They're not Muslim. They're Christian. Leave them be." And then they kicked us out. They literally kicked us out. And then after that, my friend is like, "I'm going home. I'm running home." We just ran all the way home. I got home.
Wow.
Yeah. it's barbaric, man. But I don't know about it right now. But that's how I grew up. To be honest with you, it's like every moment, it's like, oh, if there's a cop passing by, I have to hide so I don't get caught.
Oh, God.
Yep. Brittle.
Yeah, I'm with William Sova. Ufta.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Well, this has been a Saturday Nothing cast with Tewelde, a very, very interesting one. And for those of you who are on the Discord, check out the second chapter of Siege Engine, which is now posted. So
Yep.
thank you for joining us, Tewelde.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
Cool. Okay, take care.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.